everyone, welcome back to In the Alley. My name is Cody. Glad you guys are back for another video. We're going to be previewing the lone Sunday matchup we have here. Looks a little bit different now. I am at the in-laws, so grind never stops, right? I gotta keep doing these things, but yeah, I cut out a little bit of time here away from family, and we'll do a quick preview. We'll get back to family matters, and yeah, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Memorial weekend. But that being said, let's pull up the preview card here. We've got a Sunday matchup, 5:05 p.m. Central Time, YouTube and Caffeine TV, live from the Pechanga Arena in San Diego, California. The 6-2 Frisco Fighters heading out west to take on the San Diego Strike Force, 5-3 on the year. This might be the game of the week. Maybe. I don't know. We've seen the other games that have happened so far this weekend. Hindsight's 2020. Let's preview this one and see what we can get out of it. Looking at the statistical leaders, we don't know if TJ Edwards is going to start. We'll talk injury report. We'll talk 25-man rosters, as we always do. But leading statistically still with Larry Harrington, Trip Harrington, however you want to call him, filling in. If he fills in again, more power to him. But might need that extra firepower that TJ Edwards brings. Larry Harrington is filling in nicely. Last week was not kind to the Frisco Fighters. Devin McCoy leading in the receiving category for them. They just need a little bit more out of that passing game. You're trying to see right now that they are just very, very one-dimensional in the running game. Passing game is there. It's just not that good. Defensively, Charles Williams, Royce C., and Lionel McConnell lead in their respective categories. On the San Diego side, Nate Davis putting up a great season. Father Time is undefeated. He hasn't met Nate Davis yet. 1,400 yards passing, 35 touchdowns. Sorry, I kicked my camera stand. And 5 interceptions. So a very, very good season for Nate Davis, just slinging the ball around like he does. This is just vintage Nate Davis. Chance Bell, Jordan Kress, leading receiver or running back and receiver respectively. And defensively, Jaquan Artiste, Sherrod Williams, and Justice King round out your defensive leaders. Players to watch here for the Frisco Fighters, I do have Larry Harrington. I think I've had him either last week or the week before. We just don't know if he's going to play. That is the big question that we have to ask here. Is he starting? I don't think there's a question he's going to play. Is he starting? Those stats are not kind. They got obliterated by the Green Bay Blizzard last week. 4 for 12 for 56 yards, 11 rushes, 76 yards. This is a run-first team. They got the running game going, and it got shut down pretty quick. 4 of 12. I cannot remember if he had any interceptions or anything. I think he had 1, maybe 2. But yeah, just not kind for the Frisco Fighters on the passing side. You're going to need more of that here. San Diego goes up against it every day in practice, so we'll see what they can do. On the defensive side, Royce C. He's got to be the field general on defense for Frisco. 9.5 tackles, 3 for a loss last week against the Blizzard. You know Nate Davis can sling it. You know he gets the ball out quick, 1-step drop, 3-step drops. He's not afraid to take off if he absolutely has to. But you see it right there in the player to watch for Nate Davis. He's going to throw it. He's going to throw it 30, 40 times a game. He's going to try and get it to the guys. Arthur Jackson is back. We'll talk about that in a second. But Royce C., he's got to be the guy that is going to have to put pressure. That defensive line with Charles Williams, Solomon Wise, you need that defensive line to get after it. But if you are not having him blitz up the middle, damn near every play, dare I say, you're going to get torched. You're going to get torched. On the flip side, though, you give him too much time and you drop Royce C. back into coverage, you're giving Nate Davis so much time to find the guy who's eventually going to get open. So, all eyes on Royce C., no pun intended. You're going to have to see what he can do. You got to get after him. You got to ruin that timing. Players to watch for San Diego. Obviously, Nate Davis. For him, you see that stat line. A little over 50% passing, 230 yards, only the 1 rush. He doesn't rush unless he has to, obviously. But Frisco's defense is pretty good. It didn't show it last week, but it could be an anomaly. This could be a true litmus test for how good this defense truly is. But Nate Davis, as I've said prior, 1-step drop, 3-step drops, whatever the case, if you are able to have that time, if you are able to pick up those blitzes, if Chance Bell is able to pick up those blitzes, I fully believe Nate Davis could possibly shred this defense. Now, the secondary for Frisco, in my opinion, is pretty good. Stats might not show it, but that defense, that defensive secondary, pick a player, and one of them is most likely going to have a very good game. They've alternated. It's been Lionel McConnell for one game, Norris Wren for another. Kentrell Pierce, I believe, had an interception either last week or the week before. Jeff Edgecombe has filled in nicely. They do have Carlos Crawford, who they just signed last week. We'll talk about all of that later. But if you can shred that secondary, you're going to have a good game. Defensively, player to watch. Speaking of secondary, Tycorian Brown. What a coming out party for him. 5 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, 1 pick, 1 pass breakup. Pretty good, right? You're going to need to rely on that secondary if they're going to try and throw it. I don't necessarily see Frisco throwing it too often. It's just not their bread and butter. I do have Brown highlighted here based on what he did last week, because Duke City is just one of those teams that does like to throw it and sling it around a lot too. He's going to have to be one of those guys that is able to lock down the wide receivers. Easier said than done sometimes if they've got those deep shots to Blackman, if they have those deep shots to Devin McCoy, and we'll talk. But I ultimately think if that secondary can just keep Frisco as the running team that they are, you're going to have a better chance with that defensive line with Jaquan Artis or Byron Cooper, Javian Williams, Sherrod Williams getting in there. You can shut the running game down. So I've got Tycorian Brown. Look for that passing game for Frisco. It might hinge on this. The game might hinge on that, ultimately. Series history, not much. 1-0, Frisco leads it. They met week 11 of last year, 70-56, a very high-scoring game. Fighters, favored by 1 on the road. Money line is a pick'em, and an over-under of 97.5. So, that being said, let's go check out our rosters, injuries, bets, predictions, the rest of the preview. All right, injury report. Spencer Tiers. That's the only name that has been added for Frisco. Done. It's going to hurt him a little bit in the... Oh, kicked my camera again. It's going to hurt him a little bit in the passing game. Obviously, he is a deep threat. He is a guy that can catch the ball over the middle. But you have re-signed Richard Turner, or activated him off short-term injured reserve. So we'll see how good that wide receiving core truly is. But ultimately, that's it for Frisco. On the San Diego side, I don't necessarily think that they have added or lost anyone from the week prior. Now, I will say this, though. They do have the 2 guys off of the suspension, but just one of them. They've got Marquise Hoodie Rogers off of suspension, and they've taken Arthur Jackson off of suspension all the way back from the Bay Area game that caused them to miss 3 games. Marquise Hoodie Rogers has been released, so has Trayvon Van. So... and I believe there's been a couple of other guys that might have switched around or been released as well, too. We'll go take a look at that. But that's where we're at right now. Randall Grimes out for the season still. I think the same 4 suspects for the short-term injured reserve for San Diego. Let's go take a look at those rosters, our bets, rest of the preview. We'll get on out of here. All right, 25-man roster. As we do, visiting team first. Offensively, is the question mark. Does TJ Edwards start? I don't think so. I think Larry Harrington has it for another week, but won't be surprised if TJ Edwards starts. As I said in the injury report, Spencer Tiers on short-term injured reserve. Richard Turner has been activated off short-term injured reserve himself. Offensive line kind of stays the same. We'll just kind of see who slots in, who's a depth piece, whatever the case could be. Defensively, not much changes, if anything. Carlos Crawford finally got number 0. He was a reserve last week. Not really much else. I mean, everything stays the same for Frisco except 1 wide receiver on, 1 wide receiver off. We'll see who starts at quarterback. For San Diego, as I alluded to in the injury report, Arthur Jackson off the suspension list. They have had to make a cut. They've cut Trayvon Van. They've released Hoodie Rogers. But like I said, last week they signed Xavier Amy. I'm not sure what the status is for Isaiah Crocker. I have not seen him go on injured reserve or anything like that. And same 3 offensive linemen, I believe, that have started most, if not all. Well, no, Jonte Berry just signed not too long ago. So most of the offensive line that started all season is still here. Defensively, it's same ones. Same guys from last week. Haven't really seen much change in that regard. I think they've only got 24 players suited right now. I don't know if they make an emergency sign-in or anything. They just roll the 24 and then take the 21 that they take to the game. So, that being said, not too much changes in both teams. So, there you go. Let's hope for a good game, right? Let's go check out our bet, our prediction. We'll get on out of here. All right, best bet, over 97.5. Asking both teams to put up 48 points each, 49 points each. So we'll see. The defenses are kind of suspect. One team likes to throw the ball, one team likes to run the ball. So if not too much time is taken off the clock, this could be a nice little back and forth. All weekend I've expected points and been disappointed. So let's just hope for more points this weekend. I'm hoping for more points and more offensive explosions. The defenses are proving me wrong though, so don't be surprised if this gets faded again, because I'm the world's greatest gambler. Over 97.5. Let's hope for some points on a nice Sunday Memorial Day weekend. That way we can go off on our Monday without having to do anything but reminisce on a great week of football. So over 97.5. Let's get into it. Let's go make our prediction. We'll get on out of here. All right, prediction time. 52-48. Barely going over here. So that's the reason I'm thinking that the under is going to hit. But this could be a game where both teams just really don't really have a defense. They just sling it, they run it, they do whatever. That's what I'm hoping for. Defenses, as I've said, have proved me wrong the entire time. But let's talk a little bit about this one. I think San Diego, given the right circumstances, could pull the upset. Didn't happen with San Antonio yesterday. Didn't happen with a lot of the other upsets, but yeah, could San Diego really do something here to really kind of shake things up? I'm not sure. Frisco running the ball, controlling the clock, doing what they do, is that enough? I mean, you kind of saw it with Bay Area, but that's a whole different beast. Is that something where they can keep San Diego's defense for minutes at a time on the field? How well rested does that make Nate Davis on the other side if you're keeping him off the field to, not get winded or anything? I don't know. It could all just be a mental thing. I mean, again, I root for the Chiefs. They try the same thing with Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't work. So, I don't know. That's the thought process for me, at least going into it, is can you keep the other offense off the field, run clock, drain clock? If that's the case, it's going to be a closer scoring game. Or is this going to be something where San Diego's offense just goes off? They can score, they can throw it deep. Arthur Jackson, coming back from a suspension, probably wants to prove himself. That offense of San Diego probably wants to say, hey, you're coming into our arena, you're 6-2, not after this week. We'll see. On the other side, I could see Frisco saying, hey, we're going to boa constrictor this time down, constrict the amount of possessions you have. Sorry, you only get to score four touchdowns because you've only got 4 possessions. I don't see that happening, but that's why we watch the games, right? I've got it high scoring. I got it 52-48. I think San Diego might pull the upset. I'm hoping they pull the upset. We got to get some parity up in here, right? Got to get some scores back to the 500 levels. That way we really get a nice little playoff race going. But who knows? Who knows? Let's at least root for San Diego, so that way Green Bay stays number 1, right? Anyway, that's my preview. Those are my predictions. That's anything and everything in between. Appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this amidst all the noise that's going on upstairs. That being said, I'm going to go enjoy my family's company. Hope you guys do the same. Love, appreciate every single one of you. I will see you guys in the next video. See ya.